What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm answering a frequently asked question, which is what do chartered accountants actually do? I get this question a lot from you guys on my DMs, and I do just want to thank you guys for always reaching out and asking me questions. Almost every other day I'm getting a DM from someone who's a student or an aspiring CA, and that for me is amazing, especially in this day and age where people are just like not ambitious, they don't care, they just want the fast life. So to see how ambitious some of you guys are is really inspiring and motivating, and always keeps me coming back, because I honestly want to feed into that ambition, and I want to make sure that you've got all the resources that you want to make informed decisions about your careers and your future. So if you're one of those people, just keep at it guys, keep pushing. I wouldn't want you guys to be without knowledge if I've got it and I do have like the resources to actually post it out there. So there are 4 majors that you do in your honors year. I feel like I've said this before, but basically there's accounting, there's financial management, there's taxation, and there's auditing. So I'll try and link the jobs according to the subjects, or the modules rather, but just know that the modules, as much as I'm going to try bucket some of the careers or what people do into these 4 buckets for the subjects, it's just to make it easier for you in case you want to see which module do you like the most and what kind of job relates to that. But know that these are interlinked, so don't let this limit you in any way. So chartered accountants are accountants which are chartered. It can be with SICA, which is where CASAs are chartered, but there's different professional bodies that govern different professions. So specifically with chartered accountancy, the 4 majors are the ones that I've mentioned, and when it comes to the careers, it's very vast. But the role of an accountant or chartered accountant is basically to make sure that the finances are presented and prepared and disclosed correctly, and that management can make decisions based on the information that's being prepared by chartered accountants. And sometimes those chartered accountants are in management, and they are the ones making the decisions based on what other chartered accountants have prepared. And also other chartered accountants who are now in auditing give assurance on the work that has been done by the chartered accountants that work in these companies to say, hey, this is materially correct and can be used to make decisions. And this then obviously helps investors who do then plow money into companies in terms of buying shares or providing debt if it's an investor that's an institutional investor or financial service provider. So that is how the whole system works in terms of the different stakeholders that are involved in the process. They all depend on chartered accountants doing their job. So with accounting, one of the first and most obvious things is preparation of financial statements. So you will find that each company is required by the Companies Act to prepare financial statements, whether it's a public company or a private company. So those financial statements then have to be signed off by a chartered accountant. You wake up and you're doing the financial statements. So usually this is periodic, obviously. Usually you need to just disclose at year end, but most big companies will disclose quarterly and also half yearly. So that's why then you find that throughout the year chartered accountants have this work of preparing the financial statements. But before the financial statements can even be prepared, you need to make sure that it's accurately captured before you can prepare a financial statement and make sure that it balances. So that's where other chartered accountants also come in, and these would perhaps be your financial accountants or financial managers, where now they are processing the journals, doing reconciliations, basically making sure that all the transactions that are happening in the company are recorded on the company systems, ensuring the month end, that every month end you know exactly how the company is performing. So that's the accounting side. And one other very important and very exciting aspect of the accounting side is that you can even be in something called the technical advisory or accounting advisory. Different firms or companies companies will call it different things. But with this job, basically what you do is you give assurance to any stakeholder within the company in terms of how a specific transaction is meant to be accounted for. Like they say there's a new product and everyone is keen to launch, someone in the innovation team has presented it and it's great, but a chartered accountant in the technical advisory can come in and say, actually, according to IFRS standards, you'd have to record this way, so maybe we can't necessarily recognize this as revenue, therefore it won't be profitable for the company. So as much as it seems like a good innovative idea, we're shutting it down. it won't be feasible, it won't be profitable for the company. If you're still watching, it means this video is going very well, so please do the right thing, give it a thumbs up, click the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Great, now let's continue. With the technical advisory, they can also just give you assurance in terms of how do we treat this, because there's always new developing transactions, so how are they meant to be treated? And when there's new standards being issued, these chartered accountants that are in the technical advisory group or team can then school the other chartered accountants that maybe are preparing journals or preparing financial statements on what exactly is the latest industry standards and expectation, so that everybody stays up to date. In financial management, you'll find that a chartered accountant will also be busy in financial management and looking at those lines one by one. You can find that a chartered accountant is simply responsible for the operating expenses line of the income statement, but this comes with different categories. They are in charge of calculating, I don't know, the depreciation. They're in charge of seeing exactly how much stationery was purchased, how much water and electricity was spent, and managing these expenses on a monthly basis. For example, now that there is load shedding, an accountant can say, oh great, we need to then increase our budget for diesel because there's so much load shedding, we need backup power and there's just so much diesel that the generators are consuming, so we need to purchase more in the following months. And when they see that coming through in that operating expenses line, it's not a shocker. So you'll find that sometimes you are responsible for a specific line. So those are just some of the management accounting things that you'd find chartered accountant looks at. And this also goes into the space of the retail industries, your manufacturing. They do a lot of costing, which I have not been exposed to, but they look at costing for the company in terms of exactly what quantities of materials do they need to feed into their processes. So all of that is work that a chartered accountant would do. I've spent a lot of time on costs, so let me just move on. Chartered accountants also look at the financial management of things, which is now analyzing financial statements of other companies. So you'll find that you need to analyze how your peers are doing. You don't just focus only on your work as a company, you need to see what the others have presented on their financials so that you can see how's the industry tracking. Are your expenses growing like everyone else, or is your company growing expenses way more than other companies, and why? And also you analyze financial statements even if you are kind of in the mergers and acquisitions side, where you are maybe valuing companies or you want to take over certain companies. So if a major retailer like ShopRite recently bought Cambridge, so when Cambridge Superstores from Massmart, so if ShopRite is doing that, you'll find that a chartered accountant would have been working on the transaction, analyzing Massmart's financial statements, looking at their profitability, looking at their return on equity, looking at different metrics just to make sure that this is a good buy for this company. So those are just some of the things in financial management, in costing, and in accounting. And then now there's also the taxation leg. So with regards to taxation, you can be a tax specialist. You can be the one who submits the company's returns on a monthly basis. You can be looking at the VAT that's being recorded with every transaction, the VAT input, the VAT output, and seeing how much the company is liable for. Those are some of the things that tax specialists can do, but they can also do taxation services for now that's just within the corporate space, but you can also, let's say, start up your own practice if you are a tax specialist, and then you can now provide tax advisory services to people outside, like to the random individual who's like, I just started a business, I don't know how to record this, and then you can assist them, or to any other company if you want to outsource your skills. So chartered accountants can also do that if they specialize in taxation. And similar to the accounting advisory within the corporate space, tax specialists can also give that assurance in terms of this is the work that they've done and this is their opinion on whatever you presented them with. Because you might find similar again, like new product approvals, where you've got this awesome product, you like, let's run with this, and the accounting people are like, yes, this is profitable, great. And then you get to the tax specialists and they will say the tax implications are just not favorable. You get so much tax on this and that on this transaction, therefore it's just not worth it. It outweighs the revenue that you think you'll be making from the transaction. So tax specialists study the laws and they assist the corporates in that sense. But obviously you can also as an individual, if you are a chartered accountant who's specializing in tax and registered as a tax practitioner, then you can provide your services to people. So when it's tax season, you can do people's taxes. So that's some of the things that chartered accountants can do with regards to tax, but there's a much more, guys. I'm just mentioning at the surface level. Now the final leg is the auditing leg. So with regards to auditing, auditors basically, they're the ones who give that assurance to whoever's using the financial information that's been prepared by other chartered accountants who are not in the auditing side of things. They give the assurance that this has been done correctly. You go into a company, you wake up, you actually go and you see that maybe whatever company that you're auditing, they've said they have land and buildings to the value of 5 billion rands. Then you literally will need to audit, is that true? Find the addresses, do all these controls and procedures to verify the existence of those buildings, to verify the value, the accuracy of what's being presented in the financials. So you can say chartered accountants are checking the work of other chartered accountants in the industry. So that's basically how the whole system works and what chartered accountants do. There are lots of different jobs. So you'll find financial manager, you'll find auditor. Oh, with auditing, I almost forgot, there's also internal audits. You can be in the internal audit function of a company, where now you need to give assurance on the on work that has been done by different people within the company, but now you are working for the company itself. So sometimes this can just be they want an assurance on, or they want an opinion on how well a certain process is doing, and then that audit report will maybe assist management in terms of what can they do better to improve their processes, and just to ensure that everyone is still following the company policies and that the risks are minimized. So this is basically how chartered accountants then end up having so many different jobs. So you can't find one chartered accountant who's a specialist in all of these things, but usually most chartered accountants will have exposure to all of these, and throughout their training contracts they will rotate and experience different meshes of this mix that I've mentioned. Then they'll make an informed decision of, I want to focus on this, or I want to focus on that. And that's basically what chartered accountants do. In all of this, I have not even touched on what I currently do. So it's very vast what chartered accountants can do. You can also get sector specific. For example, I'm in a sector where there's lots of regulations. So those regulations, I wouldn't necessarily have studied them in university, but I have to study them on the job. But because of what's required from a chartered accountant in terms of their skill set and the knowledge they're supposed to have and the way they are able to articulate themselves and analyze situations, I'm expected to be able to read these regulations and understand them, and then make sure that the correct steps or measures are taken by the company. So sometimes you can also be in a very industry specific role, because what I look at is regulations specifically in the banking industry. So that's something that someone else doesn't care about, something like Basel 3 that other people don't really care about. So that is what chartered accountants do, and it's very important that you are well versed in terms of technology, because usually most of this is done on Excel or on certain IT systems where you're recording transactions or whatever it is that you're doing. So it's very important to also make sure that you familiarize yourself with technology in terms of like knowing how to use the computer basically. So those are some of the important things when it does come to chartered accountancy. Most of the time you do sit behind a desk, but like I've mentioned, in auditing you might be required to go to a farm and count all the sheep that are there. So there's lots and lots that can be expected of you that you need to do, but more or less this is what we do as chartered accountants. I hope this video was enlightening and not too long, and if you guys have any other video requests, do let me know. I'm always keen to assist, and I will see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.